Bánkẹ́ gangan. Mm-mm. Ẹni ọ̀ Bánkẹ́ gangan. Ọ̀rẹ́ ò gbàtàn. Ìjọba o. Dayọ̀ wé kò dé àríyá. Ìjọyà o. Ìjọyà o. Àná òní kẹyìn o. Ọjọ́ òní láyọ̀ rẹ. Tùkùkà ọ̀rẹ́ o. Ẹ̀rẹ̀ mọ́ jó. Ẹ̀jẹ̀rẹ̀ máa jó o. Òní tèmi à. Mọ́ jó o. Ẹni ọ̀ Bánkẹ́ gangan. Máa jó. Fàyà máa jó o. Bèbí máa jó. Ẹni ọ̀ Bánkẹ́ gangan. Mm-mm. Good morning, poetic souls. You are tuned to Poetic Vibes, the home of words that remember, resist, and renew. Today's theme on Poetic Vibe on Abad Radio is of ancestors and echoes. Of ancestors and echoes, uh, poem, that is root poems and cultural memory. On the show today, we will be exploring poetry that honors our roots. Remember our forebears and echoes across generation. However, today is Workers' Day. Special shout out to all the people who make sacrifice to build our nation, the workers, the labor force. So, if you're just joining Poetic Vibes on Albert Radio for the first time, I say welcome to the biggest poetry program on radio. And I am your regular host, Funke Awodia, the poet and sociologist of Harvard. Please stay tuned. I'll be right back after this break. Enjoy it. We are breathing is enough for every one of us. Future you speak of is here. The harvest of harvest is near. Telling stories. The song I sing for glory. The life I live. Help me see the future that I seek. Welcome back to Poetic Vibes on Abad Radio, and I am your regular host, Funke Awodia, the poet and sociologist of Harvard. I said on today's program, we'll be discussing the theme of ancestors and echoes. We're talking about root poems and cultural memories. What exactly are root poems? Root poems are more than words. There are chants, incantations, ancestral stories, oral tradition written in verse. They ground us in identity and heritage. These are poems that remember, poems that say, I came from somewhere. Let me take you to my mother's heritage home in Ogun State, a place called Ìmáṣàyí. Èmi lọmọ onímàṣàyí ajàgìdì àgbò. Ọmọ ṣé mo rán ǹtárà rẹ. Ọmọ onímàṣàyí ajàgìdì àgbò. That's telling you where I come from. I am telling you about my identity through horror poetry. I'm going to be doing more of these chants and poetry, both in Yoruba language and poems that are telling stories. One of such poems that I'll be discussing today is titled The Negro Speaks. The Negro Speaks of Rivers by Langston Hughes. I have read that poem this morning. I'm going to read it on the show. But before I take you to that faraway place via poetry, I want us to start from home here. So I'm going to tell my producer to play something maybe from Ekiti or Riki or something that we are very familiar with. But before I do that, also, special shout out to Mr. Tunde of Abua Farm and Mrs. Adegun Soye out there at Federal Polytechnic, our neighbors here. I got your feedback. Thank you for always tuning to Poetic Vibes on Abad Radio. So now, let's go on Oriki Vibes. Is still part of poetry, and I'm very sure you enjoy it. Ọmọ wa ni wá o, wa ni wá o. Like. Àwa lọmọ Sàpátà dòwó. I love that. The one who turns the hills to money. How? You see, that's one thing about heritage poems. They are telling, they are showing identity and heritage. And these poems make us remember where we come from. I have so many heritage poems, both in English language and in the indigenous language. But now let's go. Let me read this particular one. The Negro speaks of river. I have known rivers. I have known rivers ancient as a world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates downs when downs were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lured me into sleep. I look upon the Nile and raise the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abraham Lincoln went down to New Orleans. I have seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I have known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. Thank you for listening. That poem is telling of heritage, identity. I came from somewhere. That's just what the poem is trying to make us see, that we all come from somewhere. And you see, poets have a way of weaving their lineage and into landscape, and this become voice into their history. Their lines are bridges to the past. And talking about the past and present and how, these heritage poems become echoes of where we come from, I'm going to discuss African oral poetry, Oriki, Yoruba praise poetry, the griot storytelling, and also the Igbo chants. I know so many friends who are doing that. I was privileged to be in Oshobo during the weekend for the Oshun Literary Network Book Fiesta. And one of the poets, Abenia Kewi, was on stage, and she was, she was trying to tell a story about where we are that at that time, Oshobo, and she was weaving it into, poetry, which we call Ewi chanting. And also, she looked into the audience, she saw prominent audience. Oh, I can't consider myself to be one of them because she heard I'm from Elisha and she was taking me into my Elisha background, my heritage by poetry, saying, Ọmọ olóbì wọ́wọ́ ti wọ́, ọmọ ẹlẹ́ni àtẹ̀ká, ọmọ ẹlẹ́ni ẹwẹ́lẹ́, Ìjẹ̀ṣà ló ń sin tòlótòló, ẹ̀rù bàbá wọn ló ń sin pẹ́pẹ́yẹ. That is history. Who are the Ìjẹ̀ṣà people? What do they do for a living? You see, and there are modern poets who did not forget their heritage too, no doubt. One of such foremost poets is our own Niyi Oshundari, Okpot Bitek, of Song of Lawino, and even contemporary poets like our own Titi Lokpe Shonuga. These their poems are always, they are not trying to run away from their background, even when they are not living on the continent or in their country. They make us travel through poetry by telling us their heritage story. I'm going to share a root poem that I wrote about my own heritage. While a while ago, I was telling you about where my mother comes from, Imashai, and Imashai is like the real hometown, but they settled in a place called Okiore in Ado Odo Ota local government. This is really, really personal. And Okiore means Hill of Friendship. And this poem I'll be reading is titled Hill of Friendship. Please enjoy it as I read. I will tell your story of farmlands and flourishing grassland. I will tell the world about your flowing streams, singing birds of breadfruit trees, a communal place for man and nature, a hill of friendship you truly are. Your heritage, my treasure. On your riverbank, I found peace. Looking up at the blue sky to read the minds of my forebears who saw tomorrow before it arrived, and green sacred heights with bamboo trees. Oh, luxuriant beauty of hill of friendship. Speaking in fluent tongue, I stand on higher grounds, telling listening ears about your hairs. Bankole Akinjobi, your heroic acts remained renamed you, breaking the chains of the bearded slave master. Amode Onimashayi Ajagidi Agbo. Ogunyomi, son of Amode, brother of Ogunjobi, your daughters is here at Ojubaba, seeking not your face but your trail, chanting Ijala Ode, a hunter of words she hears, planted trees and wears in lands and might. Oluwale, son of Amode, father of Ogunyomi and Ogunjobi, your great grand have come home to dance to the rhythms of Gumbe and Bolojo. A bittersweet reminder of yesteryears. Ọ̀rẹ́ ò gbọ́kọ̀, ọmọọba kárelé, igi ti dá, ẹyẹ ti fò lọ. Adegbola, son of Ogunyomi, is gone. Like the tall bamboos that once added beauty to our land and clan, Balogun Okeore, Terigbaso, Erinwo, and the destruction began. The saw replaced the planning trowel. Greedy trucks scattered away the sanding jewel of our land. The heel of friendship, now heel of alienating ways, but the knee. The masked one. An epidemic of disappearance has fallen the land of your ancestors. Our sons and daughters have turned to land grabbers. who battered our communal heritage for cheap gratification. One after another, our palm trees and breadfruit trees have vanished, and naked now the hill of friendship stands. Where goes the palm trees whose rhythm I dance to? The loamy soil of Ipeta, where are you? Standing tall walls of ghost town of Abule Isale, who befell you with no respect for the dead and living. Perching trees of Okoshoshi, where is your nest? Serenity of Okiore disappeared with the trees. Ill of friendship, you are the birthplace of my superhero. From the pot of friendship she drank. For our sake, I will rebuild your fallen shelter and make you an orchard of fruits and flourishing trees. I will chant your praise and tell tales of your warriors. Accept me as I come home. Thank you for listening. That's a quite emotional one from me because Okiore used to be a very beautiful place during my childhood, and I was so familiar with the place. But due to the activities of land grabbers and so many things that happened, I felt like we've lost a lot, and that's why I was able to put that into my poem. That's cultural memory. You see, poetry is a vessel for cultural memory and resistance. I don't have guns, I don't have power to fight those who carted away the jewels of Okere. But as a poet, I know I have a voice and I was making my voice count. I'm going to go on another break, and when I return, Poetic Vibes will continue. And are you going to get more and more of poetry? I'm going on a break now.
Look at her. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to. Yeah, no. I'm at the point in life. No, you're good.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in poetry. I'm a believer in indigenous poetry. I am a believer in the power of words to reclaim identity. I am a believer in the power of words. Welcome back to Poetic Vibes on Abad Radio, and I am Funke Awodia, the poet and sociologist of Abad. For the past 25 minutes and more, I have been discussing echo poems, poems that tell stories about our heritage. No doubt, colonization have tried to erase indigenous knowledge, but poets are reclaiming it. No doubt, if you pay attention to the works of foremost African poets and playwrights, you know that yeah, Nigerians, Africans generally, through the works of their hands, I mean, creative works this time around, they're trying to reclaim everything that colonization was taking away from us. Oh, so no, there are so many indigenous poems that are written in English. I call them indigenous because of their themes and content. Because yes, they were written in English, but they are still telling heritage stories. Either you're writing in your indigenous language or you're writing in English, my dear friend, please don't forget where you're coming from. So, what stories do your grandparents tell you that deserve to be a poem? If you were on the show a few minutes ago while I was reading Heal of Friendship, most of the things I talked about were not just my own experience about that place I was writing about. Some of it were the stories from my late grandmother, Yamieleko. I miss my grandmother so much. God bless her soul. And for everyone out there who still have their grandparents, please stay close to them. Your grannies have so much stories to tell you, and you have so many things to learn about your identity from your grannies. Don't run away from them. Don't be those who believe that grannies are witches and wizards. Anyway, there are so many family ancestral objects, like some of the things I talked about in my poem. Bodeni is a masquerade that I know that is always coming out on special occasions in my mother's village. And there's so many things apart from this cultural heritage that you could use your poetry to address, things that have to do with identity. Okay. It looks like we're gradually moving to the last bend of the show. But before I go on the show, I want to encourage anyone that is listening to me out there. What exactly do you want to tell your children about your heritage? What are the things that you think you have learned and you want to pass to the next generation? If you ever have any of such, feel free to share with me. Yeah, and you can follow me on my social media handles, Poetic Vibes on YouTube. And you can also join me on Facebook with the name Awodia Funke. On TikTok, I'm also Awodia Funke. Let's take the poetry out of the studio. And as we close today's journey into root poems, remember this: right is to remember, and to remember is to resist forgetting. May your poems echo with names, places, and prayers of those who walked before you. Stay rooted, stay poetic. Until I come your way again next week, God's willing, I will also add to this that water is good for the body, but poetry is good for the mind. Keep writing, keep chanting, keep singing. Special shout out to the production crew. First to start, Lai Ajishafe, the coordinator, Abwad Radio. Special shout out to Olushola. Special shout out to Emmanuel Ogumilade, Shehu Peters, Adeyemi Faleye, and to you, my amazing audience, Mrs. Adegun Soye of Federal Poly, and students of Afebabalola University, students of Ekiti State University, and everyone out there who might be listening now, right now. Until I come your way again, I remain the poet and sociologist of Harvard. Bye bye. Ẹ jẹ́ ká relé, ilé là ń lọ, àgbẹ̀ kan ò roko roko kó gbàgbé ilé. Á jẹ gíláàsì pẹ̀lú oko. Yeah, ebi ń pa mí o. ṣọlá dà ó ṣáà lóun ṣe producer àwọn ò lè yà mí wá ṣáà yà mí lẹ́yìn show àbó ṣì ń produce àwọn producer irọ́ èló ló fẹ́ gbà ẹ tún ti gbé kámẹ́rà yín lọ. ẹ tún ti gbé kámẹ́rà yín lọ ṣé ẹ fẹ́ lò wọ́n ẹ fẹ́ lo kámẹ́rà studio yẹn. Oh. Thank you. It is nice doing business with you.
I feel